Hey everyone, and welcome to another video in this rewriting crash course series. So last video, what we looked at was the flow of a scene, what's actually happening when characters are speaking lines of dialogue to each other, doing certain action, what that actually means for the different levels of stakes in that scene, external, internal, philosophical. So in that episode, I talked mainly about how the scene that I focused on was a non-pivotal scene. And today what we're going to do is look at two pivotal scenes, a midpoint scene and a climactic scene, and talk about what's actually happening in these scenes here. So if you're interested in working with me one-on-one to rewrite your screenplay, there is a link below for that. You can learn more there. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into the video. So last time, again, like I told you, we looked at regular scenes. Today, we're going to be looking at pivotal scenes. So in a pivotal scene, you are likely going to have all three levels of stakes: external, internal, and philosophical, all interacting with each other in your particular scene. So I want to look at two scenes here. First scene that we're going to look at is this climactic scene from Snowpiercer. So this is the very end of the film. If you're worried about spoilers, probably don't watch this, but we are here to learn, so we are going to be looking at different parts of a film. Okay. So in this scene, we have Wilford here. Wilford is the main antagonist for the story. Curtis is our main character. He has traveled across this train to get to the front, and he has finally made it.
Let's take a look at you. You hungry? You did a man's work coming all this way.
Please, sit down.
You are the first human being to have walked the total length of this train, tail to engine. Did you know that? Well done. Bravo. None of your people have ever been here. To the engine. I've never been to the tail sector. Why?
Okay, so this is sort of the first, that line there is kind of the first opening of what's actually being said here. So none of your people, the tail section people, have made it to the front, and I have never been to the back. Curtis says, why not, right? So now we are starting down on all three of these levels here, right? So, and mainly the philosophical and the internal, because Curtis is saying when he says, why not, we are talking about his friends, and we're talking about philosophically his belief that the tail section, people in poverty should not remain in poverty while other people at the front get to enjoy a lavish lifestyle.
Too dirty for you.
Too
Don't
dirty.
run up against the varmint of the tail section.
Do you think my station is without its own drawbacks? It's noisy. And it's lonely.
Right. Stakes. Plenty of room. This whore to bring you anything you want.
Curtis, everyone has their preordained position. And everyone is in their place except you.
That's what people in the best place say to people in the worst place.
Right. So everything that we're hearing here is based upon the philosophical stakes, right? That's what people in the best place say to people in the worst place. This entire film is about current society and how it is built with the rich people at the top, the poor at the bottom, right? Represented with the symbol of the train in this film.
There's not a soul on this train who wouldn't trade places with you.
Would you trade places with me?
Fuck you.
Curtis, dear boy, the fact is we are all stuck inside this blasted train. We are all prisoners in this hunk of metal. Medium rare?
So we're all prisoners in this hunk of metal. Essentially, And he will go on to say, and this is, again, all coming down to the philosophical stakes within this story, where Wilford is saying that the train must continue. The system built must continue because this is the only way it can, right? And that's his philosophical position. And Curtis obviously challenges that philosophical position, therefore their philosophical conflict.
And this train is a closed ecosystem. We must always strive for balance. Air, water, food supply, population must always be kept in balance. For optimal balance, however, there have been times when more radical solutions were required, when the population needed to be reduced rather drastically.
Okay, so now, again, we are back in external, internal, philosophical, right? Wilford's men are killing the people in the back of the train. Wilford's men are killing Curtis's friends. Wilford is challenging Curtis's philosophical belief and saying the train must be kept balanced. Essentially, the society we exist within has a certain balance that must be maintained. People must be in their correct position and in their correct place. This is something you hear a lot throughout the film. And if people are not in their correct position and not in their correct place, the system breaks down and we all die. That is his philosophical position.
We don't have time for true natural selection. We would all be hideously overcrowded and starve waiting for that. The next best solution is to have individual units kill off other individual units. From time to time, we've had to stir the pot, so to speak. The revolt of the Seven, the McGregor riots, the Great Curtis Revolution. A blockbuster production with a devilishly unpredictable plot. Who could have predicted your counterattack with the torch in the Ekaterina tunnel? Pure genius. That wasn't what Gilliam and I had in our plan.
What?
Okay, and this is a huge reveal for the overall story, right? And this comes back right to here, right? Right back to all three elements, what he is saying here. Gilliam is Curtis's closest friend and mentor. And when Wilford makes the statement that Gilliam was in on this revolution and how it operated and essentially was within Wilford's system, it challenges Curtis's beliefs even more and makes Wilford the dominant figure in this story. Because externally, Wilford was part of this revolution secretly. Internally, Curtis is realizing that his closest friend and mentor was actually working with his largest enemy. And 3, he's realizing that his closest friend and mentor held the same beliefs sitting at the back of the train as this guy at the front of the train.
Oh, don't tell me you didn't know. Gilliam and I, our plan.
Gilliam.
The front and the tail are supposed to work together. He was more than a partner, really. He was my friend.
Bullshit.
Okay. So the front and the tail are supposed to work together. That's external, right? Then Gilliam is my friend. And then philosophically, they were aligned together. So you can see, even within pieces of dialogue, even within some of these major reveals, we're going boom, 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 back and forth, external, internal, philosophical. This is what you want your pivotal scenes to feel like, right? All three elements of your conflict and of your stakes are intertwined together in these key moments where major things happen.
I don't believe you.
Our original agreement was for the insurgency to end at the Ekaterina tunnel, and all the survivors would go back to the tail section to enjoy much more space.
You're a fucking liar. Gilliam would never do that.
It all worked out in the end. Your counterattack actually made the insurgency 10 times more exciting. Unfortunately, the front suffered more losses than anticipated, and Gilliam had to pay the price. Ironic, isn't it? How people dramatically cross that thin barrier between life and death. Now there's just one last thing for us to do. Tally up the numbers.
So this is an interesting, fun element of this scene. By showing the phone and showing this symbol that we've seen before, we realize that the front and the tail are actually connected like he said, right? And so then this puts even more pressure on Curtis to say that his closest mentor was actually working with Wilford. Therefore, what does Curtis do, right? Because now Curtis has a choice to make, and this continues on in the rest of this scene here, where Wilford makes Curtis choose to either take up the mantle of leading the train or not. And then you can see the choice that Curtis makes in the actual full climax there. So now let's take a look at everyone's favorite climax or midpoint scene, right? The Joker interrogation scene. This is one of my favorite scenes in all of film, really. And it is absolutely fantastic. And we're going to go through it and we're going to look at it in regards to these three elements of your conflict. And so what I want you to see is, even in something like a Batman film, right? I want you to think about the fact that people talk about how the Batman, The Dark Knight was so successful because it was a Batman film or just a well-done Batman film. But no, it was a deeply philosophical film. And we're going to see that when we look at this scene with a bit more focus. So here we go.
Harvey Dent never made it home.
Of course not.
What have you done with him?
Me? I was right here.
Okay, so starting off the scene immediately, what do we get? We get external stakes. Harvey Dent never made it home. Boom. First line of the scene, first line that Gordon says, Harvey Dent never made it home. We have an understanding of what is happening in this scene, okay? Gordon is here to figure out what the Joker did with Harvey Dent. Externally, immediately the scene is moving on in the right direction. No time wasted.
Who did you leave him with? Your people? Assuming, of course, that they are still your people and not Maroni's. Does it depress you, Commissioner, to know just how alone you really are? Does it make you feel responsible for Harvey Dent's current predicament?
Okay, so at this point, Joker is challenging Gordon internally, right? Does it depress you, Commissioner, to know just how alone you really are, right? And also philosophically, because what he's saying here is Gordon believes in justice. He believes in the upholding of the law, right? Which is opposite, obviously, of Joker's beliefs. And what he's saying here is like, you are the only one. You're the only one who actually believes this. Everyone around you is paid off, is, a liar, is taking money from this guy, taking money from that mob guy. All of your cops are dirty. That's what he's saying here.
What's the time?
The difference does that make?
Well, depending on the time, he may be in one spot or several.
If we're gonna play games, I'm gonna need a cup of coffee.
The good cop, bad cop routine.
Not exactly.
Never start with the head. The victim gets all fuzzy. He can't feel the neck. See?
You wanted me. Here I am.
I wanted to see what you'd do. And you didn't disappoint. You let 5 people die. Then you let Dent take your place. Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
Where's Dent?
Okay, so right here, Batman is coming into this scene with one focus, right? Find Harvey Dent. That's the point. So Batman coming into this scene is not here to have some sort of philosophical battle, right? He is here only for the external conflict. Where is Harvey Dent? That is not what Joker is here for, and we get to see that now.
Those mob fools want you gone so they can get back to the way things were. But I know the truth. There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
And why do you want to kill me?
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. You complete me.
You're garbage. You kills for money.
Okay, so this is a very important line, right? This is how Batman is looking at Joker at this point in the film. You're garbage who kills for money. Again, we are external, right? He's viewing the Joker just like all of these other mob characters and this sort of thing, as some guy who murders people for money that does not have any sort of deeper philosophical ideas. And Joker is about to show him that is not the case.
Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be. To them, you're just a freak. Like me. They need you right now. When they don't, they'll cast you out. Like a leper. See, their morals, their code. It's a bad joke. Dropped at the first sign of trouble.
Okay, this is where the Joker is finally laying out his philosophical viewpoint. These people, right, their moral code, it's a joke, dropped at the first sign of trouble, right? What is he saying here? And he continues soon, but what is he saying here? He's saying, these people that you think uphold this system of justice and laws, it's all a sham. It's all a lie. That's what he's saying.
They're only as good as the world allows them to be. I'll show you. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. Again, all he's saying is that these people who seem to uphold some sort of true justice, it's all a lie. And that when actually pushed, they will break down, they will eat each other. Philosophically, he is challenging Batman's core belief that there is good in the city and that justice should be upheld and that the rules we live by are important and are necessary for a functioning society.
See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve.
Understand.
You have all these rules and you think they'll save you.
Okay, so then here, Batman is tired of listening to Joker talk about his philosophy. He grabs him and gets back to the external conflict, which is, where is Harvey Dent? Joker decides to stay on the philosophical level, right? You have all these rules and you think they'll save you.
It's in control. I have one rule.
Oh, then that's the rule you'll have to break to know the truth.
Which is?
The only sensible way to live in this world is without rules. And tonight, you're gonna break your one rule.
Okay, so right here, if that's not philosophical conflict, I don't know what is, right? The only sensible way to live in this world is without rules. That is a philosophical statement, right? And he is challenging Batman's belief that rules are necessary. And Batman has one rule, he doesn't kill people. And that is actually why Joker is here, is he is trying to get Batman to break his one rule externally so that philosophically, Batman breaks what he believes. And as we are about to see, Joker also adds a little bit of internal conflict to this important scene.
I'm considering it.
No, there's only minutes left, so you're gonna have to play my little game if you want to save one of them. You know, for a while there, I thought you really were a dent. The way you threw yourself after her.
Okay, so now this is the point where Joker is challenging Batman on the internal stakes, the internal conflict. Batman, or Bruce Wayne's love of Rachel. So he doesn't just have Harvey Dent, he also has Rachel, and he is forcing, right? By having Rachel and by making the choice, he is forcing Batman to operate in Joker's world, and he is challenging Batman's philosophical beliefs, right? And what Joker wants to have happen here is to Batman kill either him, or by making a choice between who to save, he is killing the other. And that is what he, of course, explains here.
Look at you go! Does Harvey know about you and his little bunnies? Where are they? Killing is making a choice.
Killing is making a choice, right? We are back to the philosophical stakes here. Killing is making a choice. He is telling Batman, you must choose who to save, therefore you will kill the other. And he's trying to force Batman to break his one rule and also force ultimately, because he knows who Batman's going to go after, try to break Batman's core beliefs down.
Where are they? Choose between one life or the other. Your friend, the district attorney, or his blushing bride to be. You have nothing to threaten me with, nothing to do with all your strength.
So here, again, and this is why Joker is such a great antagonist specifically for Batman, is he says, there's nothing you can do. There's no way you can threaten me, right? Because Joker is sadistic. He, being punched is not going to change anything, right? Or being tortured is not going to change anything. So Batman's power is in other people's fear of him, and Joker does not have that at all. Therefore, Batman right now has no power over Joker and to tell him where they are or any of this.
Don't worry, I'm gonna tell you where they are.
And now we're back to external.
And that's the point.
You'll have to choose.
He's at 250 52nd Street, and she's on Avenue X. That's just
Okay. So if we think about what just happened in this scene, Joker lays out his philosophy. He lays out his views in this scene to Batman, right? He's explaining why he's doing all of this, what the point of this is. Then he has Rachel. So he's kidnapped Rachel. And this is our internal stakes. And also he has kidnapped Harvey Dent, right? So this scene handles all three of these stakes, and then at the end of the scene, Joker is forcing Batman to make a choice based upon mainly these two, right? But then he's a step ahead of him, of course. Things go wrong, this sort of thing. So this is how your pivotal scenes work, right? Thinking about Snowpiercer as well, right? It's about character choice and character action, and it's about how do you have your characters challenge each other on these three levels, right? And specifically in the two scenes that we've seen, it's the antagonist challenging our protagonist on specifically this level, but also on these other two levels as well, right? So for example, with Curtis, right? Curtis is being challenged here because it's his friends in the back. And he's also being challenged here because Wilfred is saying this system must continue if we are all to live, right? And he's trying to outline that, as well as here where he says that Gilliam has been working with Wilfred the entire time, which challenges Curtis's friendship with Gilliam, as well as his philosophical beliefs about Gilliam and about what must be done on the train, right? So this is how you need to be thinking about your scenes. And when you're actually analyzing some of these fantastic scenes and a lot of pivotal scenes, you can start to pick out these three different levels of stakes and how they all come together beautifully in certain points in the story, right? And this works when, before you even have gotten to the scene, you understand what your characters believe, what they want, right? So belief is this, and then what they want is going to be external. How do these interact? And then what are the internal conflicts as well? What are the character relationships, right? How do you press on the characters' relationships as well as their beliefs and as well as their goals? Because it also plays a huge role in what they do and what they want and how they go about getting it, right? If Joker doesn't have Rachel, then Batman probably doesn't, beat him up as much as he possibly can to figure out what's going on, right? And the stakes are much lower if he only has Harvey Dent. Of course, it's not great if he has Harvey Dent, but at the same time, the stakes are different, right? Harvey Dent has a different internal relationship with Bruce Wayne than Rachel does. And so this is why the scene works so well, and it's also why the end of Snowpiercer works as well as it does. Hopefully that's helpful to you. I know this was a bit of a longer video, but hopefully it was worth taking a look at these scenes and understanding what's actually happening in the flow of dialogue, as well in the flow of action. And hopefully a lot of this can be applicable to your own writing. Now, if you're interested in working with me one-on-one to help rewrite your screenplay, there is a link below where you can learn more information about that. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video.